Good day, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations with Isa Favored. Whew, it's a beautiful day. Yo, 2024. My guest just asked me now, she's like, how are you? I'm like, life is lifing me. I don't know about you, but life is lifing, guys. Life is lifing, but we don't let life life us. Ne? When life tries to life us, we find ways to make it lifeable, we make our own life in the midst of that. So today I thought, let us have a light, easy conversation that touches on life issues, but put in a very nice way. So we are doing book review. We are doing book review with one of South Africa's finest, creative, beautiful authors, Pumza Shabangu. If you have not read her books, I encourage you, go and buy them so that you can get to read and be taken to spaces that you never thought possible. Let me tell you about Pumza. She's an educator. She's a published author. She has 5 books under her belt: Unspoken Truth, Ravaged Souls, Strum My Pain, the one we are doing today, the one we are focusing on today. And she's got Strumlet and Something About You. Just a brief, Unspoken Truth deals with themes of infidelity, loss, sexuality, and love, told in 2 different point of views. Are those not issues that we deal with on a day-to-day basis? And then it was followed by Ravaged Souls, where it follows a group of friends through their experiences of turmoil, love, sexuality, and loss. Hey, these are everyday issues, but she's got a way of putting them in such a way that, it covers the theme of love, mental health issues, sexuality, loss, grief, and most importantly, great friendships. And tell me, who does not need friendships? So it just helps you to position things. It is told in 4 different points of views. Then the 3rd book she did, Strum My Pain. Hey, I read. It addresses themes of colorism, abuse, childhood trauma, love and friendship. Then Strumlet is a continuation of this book. And the latest book, Something About You, it is contemporary romance with themes of love, friendship, by awakening and acceptance. She says, I write unconventional stories and not afraid to push the boundaries in addressing pertinent social issues. She likes to think of her art in the conscience of society. It begins necessary conversations in spaces we occupy, and she hopes to inspire change and empathy. If she were to classify her writing, it's in contemporary romance. She's also an avid reader and a member of a growing book club Between the Covers, which has made a positive impact in the reading space. So, Pumza, welcome. Thank you for agreeing, and you are welcome, sis.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation.
I am. I've been looking forward to it, and so you've done a brief. The profile here sort of summarizes you. Let's start before we get to the book. What made you to start writing? What that day when you sat down and you put pen and paper? What was going on in your head? What were you thinking? Did you know what you were doing?
No, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm an avid reader, as I said, in my bio. I love reading and I enjoy reading. And I think I had been in a slum for so many years, and I had not been reading.
Uh-huh.
And then suddenly I started reading. I don't know if you know the show series by Dudubusan. And I started
Yes.
reading that. And it
Uh-huh.
was something different from what I read before, because what we grew up reading was either our historical books in a historical context, or fiction that related to our lives, to our struggle, to where we were going as people. Or if you wanted romance, and I'm an avid romance reader, then it would have to be, European or American. It was never,
Mills and Boone.
South African context. Yes.
Yes.
And so now when Bibi did that, and I was like, oh, there's this. Why have we not been doing it ourselves? Why have we not been writing these romance stories ourselves? And then I think I lost my mom
Okay.
in 2015. And I just started writing just as a way to escape. I started writing so that I wanted to escape, and I was, involved in it. There's a Facebook, heavy Facebook storytelling and writing thing. So I was reading those, and I was like, "Ah, let me also write something on the side and see how I go." So it was just a way for me to escape what I was feeling at the time, the trauma and the feelings, and I would write. And then eventually I just decided, let me just post what I've written and see if it will be, received in a good light, because I was not
Yes.
sure about the content I was writing. I hadn't read it in a South African context. And I was like, "Ah, let me just put it out there." And
Uh-huh.
then the response was great. And then I think I was
Amazing.
encouraged then from there to just continue writing.
Okay. All right.
So it was
Number
by
one,
chance.
by chance, condolences on the loss of your mom. Um, You know what they say, that in every situation, no matter how painful or so, something good comes out. In you trying to deal with your pain, trying to deal with your grief and your loss, you then buried yourself in writing. And today we're sitting here, we're having this conversation.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. At the time when it happens, you don't see. I think when you are in the deep, of the midst of your sorrow and despair, you don't see the positive. You don't see ways that you could look back and be like, oh, this maybe, that there was a blessing that came out of this
Yes.
trial. We don't look at it that
Yes.
way when you are in the midst of it. But when you are out of it, then you can look back, and introspect and be like, oh, by the way, this is what I was going through. This is what was happening. At the time, I didn't even realize what I was doing. I
You
was
just,
just,
yes, you are just going through the
going
process.
through. Correct.
Yes,
Correct. I
yes.
was going through it and surviving in any way I could. But then now when I look back, I'm like, so this is what happened. This is the
This is
lesson.
what happens, and look at you. If you think about it, in a period of less than 10 years, you've
Yes.
written so many books. It's like it gave birth to Pumza now into the
The
world
different
to
Pumza.
say, the world receives me. There's this that I came carrying, and let me share with you. Because
Yeah.
I must say, Pumza, that in your writing, I've read too the other one you've said that it was never published.
Yes.
Yes, oh, I forgot the title.
Deadlines.
Bloodlines. That was the
Yes.
first book of yours that I read. I could not put it down. I could not put my phone down because I have it on.
Thank you.
I
Another
could.
PDF.
It's a PDF. I could not put my phone down. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, okay. For if you're a lover of romance, if your mind is, then Pumza, I just want to tell you at home. So if you are a lover of love, you love romance, then make sure that you get a copy of her books, because they take you to places, they allow your mind to just go as wild as it wants to be. Now tell me, you wrote the first one. We're going to come to the book, but let's also just talk about Pumza. Because you write what is um, adult rated, let me put it like that. It must be PG rated. Yeah, explicit content, you're very explicit about it. Um, how were you received in your family and at church?
We'll start with family.
Yeah.
I don't have much of a bigger family except for my husband's side of the family. From my side, there isn't much. I'm not sure. I think when my mom wasn't there, I just didn't care. I was like, well, my mom is not there to read this. Well,
Who cares?
who cares?
And then, yes,
My
and then, okay, so now we're talking about umakoti. What is
I hope they haven't read. I told them this shouldn't read. This is not for you. But my sister-in-law is an avid reader of my books,
okay,
and she loves them. She loves
okay.
them. She's the first one to buy. She's the first one to recommend, and she enjoys. Because she enjoys romance, so she enjoys it. Sometimes she says she can't get over the fact that it's me that wrote this, but like, where's your mind at? What are you thinking of when you're writing this? I never knew you could write such things. So it's only her that I've received feedback from her because I think it's the only one that I know personally who has read, apart from my friends, because my friends have read it.
Okay.
My kids are too young, and I told them you're too young to read my books, so they can't read my books until I write a book for them that they can read. They can't
That
read
they
my
can.
books. So I don't really have anyone else that I'm concerned about. My father and my mother-in-law, they're not readers, and
Okay.
they won't read because I think they
Okay.
respect the fact that I said do not read. So
Okay. And your husband has read your
other than
books?
that, I don't think I'm worried about anybody else.
Has your husband read your books?
No, no, no. But we separated now, so I'm not sure if he
Oh.
has or
Okay,
not. But
okay,
yeah,
all right. Yeah, sorry about that. Also,
that's life, lifing us, eh?
that's life, lifing us. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Now, I'm gonna ask you the same question that your sister-in-law asked you. Where is your mind at when yo, and I've got kids here behind the scenes. Sibonga Musa and you, ngiyongixolela abafana bami. When you now write these things and like, where's your mind? What's going on? You've got a very wretched ghetto mind, girl.
It's it's life, and I think I took an intentional stance on it and was like, if we do this as adults, right? It's something that every adult is doing and should do. And I think sometimes, and especially romance is mostly for women. And I
Yes.
think in a South African context is that we've always been shamed and ashamed to speak about, sexuality and things that women should enjoy in the bedroom.
Yes.
We don't
Uh-huh.
talk about it. It's this type of thing that, it's done behind closed doors. But it's such a beautiful part of life. And
It
if you're going to tell it,
is.
so it is. It's a beautiful thing. Like for me, it is a beautiful thing. It's part of life. And if you're going to tell a love story, then that part you can't, really just skim through it while you're giving details about grief, while you're giving details about these people building friendship. So you detail everything else about life, and then you just skim through that. So I
Balwa.
made an intentional stance that I'm going to just go deeper in every aspect of this book, whether it's the intimate relationship or it's the platonic relationship. But I wanted that out there. And also for us to own our bodies, to own the way we respond to intimacy and things like that. And you find a lot of women who aren't even aware of how their bodies are supposed to function and
Yes.
respond and so now I was like, let's have conversation, because then if I write about it, then in women's spaces like this, we're going to have conversations.
It opens up,
And
yes. It opens up the conversation.
exactly. And then I was like, let me go for it. And besides, if you look at other, authors of romance, international authors of romance, they write those things, and
They
it's not
do.
taboo, and it's read, and it's a thing that's done. So why in South Africa should we shy away from it? So that was my
So
sense.
we put it and we and okay. One question. We're gonna get to it. I'm sure our viewers like, oh, those who've not read, they really are interested in knowing. We did not respond to the part of I asked as to did your family respond, and I asked about church, and we did not respond to that. How did your church? Yes. How did church receive? Yes.
I think around about the same time my mom passed, I left the church.
Okay.
So I have not been actively in a church
Okay.
establishment.
Okay.
But I'm a spiritual person. I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God, and I do my prayers, and I do my personal prayers, and my relationship with yes, it's still intact. So I have a call coming through. Can I just? I'm in a Zoom meeting. I'll call you back. So it's that thing. But I don't know the people that I used to go to, because I think also with the church I was at, I had personal issues with that.
Yes.
So I won't go.
Yes.
I won't go into
Into
it. So
that.
I
All
have
right.
not been.
No. It's fine. It's okay, girl. But I love the fact that you're saying that when, as you write, because I've seen, as I read the other one that I read, the PDF one, and the blurred lines, and this one, you are explicit about things, and it allows for conversations when we sit in our little corners as girls, probably also people as they sit with as partners, they also have an opportunity to then take a discussion and say, yeah, so what do you think about this and all that. Now, those experience, the way you put it, do you do research with your girls when you or do you do research? How do you like your research? Do you? And I know that
So,
generally.
okay, first of all, if you are a reader, that's your way of researching. I read. I read variety of content. I read variety of romance. The amount of romance I read in different genres, just in romance alone, is wow. I read
Okay,
fantasy. I read historical fiction. So I read a lot.
a
I read a lot.
lot.
So my mind and my reading has always been since I was little. So my mind has always absorbed information in different ways of beings, of people expressing themselves. So I think that came out and that helped in how my mind expresses things. I talk to people. So
Okay.
if we're gonna have a conversation about your relationship, I'm listening. I'm like hearing, okay, Issa, this is how she likes things. This is how she does things. So other people do these, so my mind has always been absorbing in spaces that I'm in conversations that I am, and because I also write about sexuality, I do research on that. I speak to the members of the LGBTQI community and hear their stories and hear, and some open up to me and allow me to use their stories in my book, but
In
not
your
not mention their
writing.
names, but just
Yes.
use it, and some guide me and be like, oh, this is how it's done. This is what happens. This is what happens. So I do talk to people and I have those conversations. So my research includes people's experiences. It includes me reading. It includes me yeah, it's just
Okay.
exposing myself in those situations. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
of
I'm
course. I'm
going
like,
to write about people that are being tied up to ceilings and things like that, then I need to go to those spaces and see what's going
and
on.
really
Yeah.
find out more about. So I was actually thinking, I'm like, even if you have fantasies, even if you have, there's no way you can live up all these things. So it must take, it must take a bit of research. It must take some work that you.
That's a lot of because people when people firstly is that when people see me they're like, oh, do you do? I'm like, no, I do not do any or some of the things, but it's some years it's things you wish you could, but you will write them because you can't do it.
You can't live long enough to do all the things that you
You can
write
do all
about.
of this, so, and it's different experiences, so
Yes.
it's more of some are for other people, some so each and every person will find their own thing,
Themselves,
that
they'll find
it
what
doesn't
works for
really have to
them.
experience, yes, you have to experience everything, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now let's get to Strum My Pain. I'm gonna read a summary at the back for our people so that, So the summary of Strum My Pain is Ndonia Manzizwane is an orphan who has hardened herself against the harsh realities of her world. She dreams of a future where she can leave her small town to complete her studies and become an architect, even though the odds are stacked against her. The pain she has been subjected to makes it impossible for anyone to break down her walls until one hot night with an enigmatic Lusanda Ngobo turns her life on its axis. Lusanda is a self-proclaimed playboy who has his life already planned for him. He has no time nor the inclination for love. He prefers playmates that know the score to have a good time with no strings attached. When a passionate night with a dark beauty comes with the possibility of complications, he has no choice but to chase after her. As they find each other again, it becomes a battle of wills and passion between the two. With so many obstacles in their way and deep seated layers of pain, will they be able to find love and strum each other's pain away, or will they succumb to the pressure of expectations?
Hey.
Yeah, you wrote that, girl.
Imagine, eh? Sometimes
Imagine
I
that.
wonder, and I'm like, whoa, did I?
Because the plots and the twists that are in this book are just something else. So that's the summary that we've done at the back. Where was your mind at when you started pen and paper? And I'm gonna say pen and paper. When you sat on your laptop, and where was your mind at? What were the intentions?
I think at the time, though, I think on social media there was just a lot of colorism going on. I think most of my stories are just inspired by things that I will see happening around me. And whether on social media, whether I something I read about or on television or whatever, or
Yeah.
in life around me in general.
Uh-huh.
But I think there was just a spark on colorism, and how people were sharing their experiences as being dark skinned and how they've been perceived all their lives and how they've had to endure name calling and things like that as they grow up. And
Yeah.
there was just something on it, and I was like, let me just write a character. And this character just came, and I was like, I'm going to write about this character, this Ndonyamanzi character, because and I think one of the people was responding to one of my stories, like, why are these girls always light and pretty, and when you
Yes.
describe a character in a book, it's this light skinned pretty girl and whatnot. And I was like, well, let me just then write this one because this is also an important story in our society and in our community, how dark skin has been viewed and how and the abuse men that as darker skinned people had to endure,
Enjoy. Yes.
even not even from outside, from within the home.
Within,
There's
yes.
there's names, there's all these derogatory terms that we refer to dark skinned girls. And as you go, even today in our society, it's still there. Colorism is embedded in our society, and it's just a part of what colonization did to us, unfortunately. But now I think we when it's us, when it's amongst ourselves, it's even harsher, it's even more
It
hateful,
is.
and
Yes.
we have young girls growing up, and I feel like they should grow up in a different society that has a different mindset than us, than the generations before us, and things like that. So it's just with this piece of literature, they're timeless. It's my contribution to that consciousness to say, pay attention to what you're doing, pay
Pay
attention to who's
attention.
around you.
Yes. Yes.
Your action, your words have consequences. So if you can read Ndoni's story and then your consciousness is tapped and like, oh, have I been doing this all along? Have I been part of the problem all along? Then for me, my job is done.
That and it's so because when you read the Ndoni story, in the home, how she was treated in the home, and as you continue with her, how she then, because of the home background, how she struggled to actually believe that she's actually beautiful. It had to take Lusanda to break down the walls and get there. And that's the reality of life. To say, if in the home front, you are going to be made to be something else at school. So there's no place of safety, there's no place of safety. I think it also, for me, it challenges anyone who reads, they will be challenged to say, within the society, in the home, in the school environment, at church, where does a person like Undoni Amanzi find refuge? Where does she go for refuge? It some places may not have, so we need Abosis Zodwa, who will then rise up and become a place of safety that will say, you are loved, You are, and here I am now going into the book now, talking about but those are some of the issues that really, because in summary, Undoni Amanzi lost her parents at the age of 6. Uh-huh. She lost her parents at the age of, at a very young age. Umamncane wakhe then takes her in, and yeah, and then life begins for Undoni.
And it's like, even her life circumstances, they are so prevalent in our society. How her parents died, the reason her parents
Yes,
died, her
yes,
background is something a lot of our kids live with. It's something a lot
live.
of our kids don't survive. And this is a fictional story, so it had to inspire hope as well. So she had to survive it, she had to rise above. But unfortunately, for a lot of other kids, there are no Lusandas around. They have
To
to
rescue.
do their work themselves. They have to pull themselves out of those impossible circumstances, rise above
Yes.
them, and become better people. But I think if we are fearless in about this sort,
Usisidudu. Why am I saying Zodwa?
I'm sorry, why is
Usisidudu.
it was
Usisidudu. I'm the one who started, and then I'm like, no, 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 Usisidudu, but not Sizodwa. Yes.
let's be about this do that in society
Yes.
if we can, if you are able to be, because they might not be able standards. Maybe able standards are it's the very men that take advantage of ourselves.
Of them,
And
yes.
so let's be able to and try to, give a hand to these kids and push them and help them to reach their potential. And I mean, it's been done. It's been, I think a lot of Black women have been helping in societies, in our
Yes.
communities, help raise these kids. But it's a difficult thing to do. It's a struggle to do without resources. But we have to do it. And
In
whatever
whatever
I do,
space, yes, in the
whatever
little space that you can, yes, yes. Now you and I know that probably for somebody we also want people to go and buy the book, but we're saying, just to give a bit of background, even today, the stereotypes or the limited thinking, yoguti, because the parents died of HIV, naturally, she is also now positive. Without making really, without, and if it is the case, if it is indeed that the child is born HIV positive, why would you then make them feel so unwelcomed on top of that?
exactly. Exactly. Why persecute them for that, for something they have no control over? Even if
Over.
they had control over, it has happened. It has happened. Then we have to look at how do we then move forward and help and carry this child through this time and then help them become better adults. And you look at how smart Ndoni is, how smart she could have easily been lost in the system. She
She
could have
could
easily been
have.
lost.
Yes.
I mean, this is a child who really wanted to succeed. She wanted to study against all odds. She goes to university. And then it also gives you a picture of how university is for the,
Yes.
underprivileged kids and how they have to now struggle to study to gain this education that is supposed to make their lives better.
Better. Yes, yes.
You
But
have
I
to
love,
work.
even before we get to university, umamncane, in the home, how she was then chased out to live in a shack, um, and how they actually sold her home, used up the money, and never have her benefit a cent from the process of she was made to be a slave in a place where she was supposed to be at home. Just to say, when you have taken in an orphan in the family, just love them. Love them. Don't take them in and make them your slaves, so that your kids can live comfortably and you can enjoy the process of whatever was sold igubo, and for her to suffer that.
And she suffered in that home, hey? She
She
suffered in that
suffered.
home. And I was like, sometimes even when I was writing it, I was like, Pastor Pumza, maybe you're doing it but too much.
No. It wasn't actually too much. It's because that's the reality. There are those we must also appreciate those families who take in orphans and they embrace and integrate them into the homes and make them a part of the home. So there's those where those that it turns out okay, and you have Yondonia Manzi where literally she when you read her story, it's said before she goes to school she must wake up and make sure that auntie umalume they are sorted. She must make sure that the two princesses abantwana balayikhaya they are taken care of while she must still goes to school. But I love how Lusanda sorted them. I love how Lusanda
But everyone needs, that that hero.
yo everyone needs that
We all
hero.
dream of that heroic moment. So
So yeah, so the book covers that part of Undoni growing up at home, and it's so difficult. Then she goes to varsity. She has to drop out of varsity because the pressures of having to study and work because she needs to survive.
true.
Yeah.
So there's that, and that's a reality. Unfortunately, we cannot escape it. We cannot escape. It's a blessing when our kids actually get to finish education through these difficulties. But now she couldn't. She couldn't cope, and the whatever bursary she had was only based on how well she performed.
She
And now
performs,
she's gonna
yes.
work part time, and she didn't make it. And then that's when she, our bad boy,
The knight in shining armor.
our nice and very
And believe you me, every girl, young and old, needs a Lusanda in their lives.
Yeah, here I'm here waiting. I'm like, where's Alusanda?
Where's
Where's
Lusanda?
Alusanda?
Now,
Tell
tell
us
us
a
a
bit
bit
about
about
her.
her relationship with Lusanda. Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm not sure if there's a particular part in the book you want to take us to. Let's talk about that romance between the relationship between her and Lusanda.
Olusanda. What's interesting is that Olusanda is a character from Ravage Soul.
Okay.
So he was this character from Ravage Souls who was this so resourceful with because Ravage Souls was a group of friends. They were friends that became family.
Okay.
So Lusana was
Okay.
amongst them. But even though he was part of the friends of that group of friendship, he was always like this outcast, like a loner, like I don't care type of guy.
Okay.
Who way to relate, a jokester in the group who didn't take anything seriously. He was much more a troublemaker. Like
Okay.
if they're gonna get into trouble, Lusanda is the one who started it. So nobody took him like seriously in that book. It's
Okay.
like, and he was also an enigma because when people read Rabbit Shows, they were not sure whether he was a thug or or a spy or something, but they knew he was something because
Yeah.
there was just something about it and how resourceful he was, especially with technology and things like that,
Yes.
and how
Yes.
he could get things done.
Okay.
So Ravish Soul ends in a cliffhanger where kids are missing and everybody's looking at Lusanda like, where are the kids? What happened to the kids? So he is a
Okay.
character. So I had already built him up to be this enigma, this mysterious character that
Yes.
people wanted to know about. So
Okay.
in this one now, then this is when we get, and he also was so against relationships. He was
Okay.
against relationships. He was like, I would never get married. I would never,
Clever.
why would I have a woman, in my life, someone to control me, blah, blah. So he was anti-relationship. So
Okay.
I wanted a person who was going to make the great Lusanda
Lusanda.
and bring him down to his knees and make him grovel. That was the intention. Was also I was like, okay, we're gonna take
Okay.
Lusanda and make him. So if you follow this book, if you read Ravage Souls and then you see Lusanda, how he turns
Yeah.
around in Strum, I think you're like, who is this guy? Even his friends
Okay.
were like,
Actually, just on that, if you are in Nullspread, please make sure that you contact Ubobo Lukele to get books. Bobo Lukele. Make sure that you contact Bobo Lukele to get the books, Ravaged Soul. Because now I'm like, yes, I read this one. I read the first one, the PDF one, and yeah, the Bloodlines, and I've read this one. So I must go back. I must get Bobo. Bobo, we must make sure that you give me a copy, Ravaged Soul, so that I can read that and get, because Mina, I saw them. I met this Lusanda, I don't know him before, so I need to meet him from Ravaged Soul to get to this to get to this Lusanda, and of course I still appreciated that. Whew, Ndoni, you broke him because you really made him to he and I guess that's the power of love. That when love happens, when love finds you, you can't fight it.
For
You
both of them.
can't, you can't fight it, you know?
For both of
Okay.
them, and for different reasons. Because
For
also Ndoni was
different
like,
reasons.
I am
I
Miss
am not.
Independent. I will never be like my parents. I will
I will
never fall for this
never.
type of thing. So they were both
Yes.
anti, and so it's like that force, that puff. That's why I say, if you love love, you will love my story. I love love. So
I
it didn't
do.
matter.
I'm a lover of love. That's why I could relate. I kept telling you that I can't. I actually finished this book in 1.5 days. I was
Oh
done.
my
I
god.
could not put it down. And I was like, I think I'm an
What is
addict.
this?
I'm like, I think I'm an addict. This is addictive behavior.
I love that. I love that. So yeah, those two they just come together and against all odds. And the odds that are stacked against them, it's family ties, it's the core of their
Yes.
own, because Ndoni mostly had all these insecurities
Yes.
that she had to overcome and break through in order to realize the person that she really is. And I wanted
Yes.
that to come through. And I wanted, as much as Lusanda was there, I wanted her to be the one to realize that, to be the one to say, this is me, this is my power, this is. And I think she came through that. She
She
came to it
did.
on her own, because now the environment that she was had changed. The environment that she was in was nurturing. It was supportive, it was building,
Yes.
and it was
Yes.
my way of also showing that where you eat, how you feed your spirit, what feeds your spirit is what builds you. So if you are in a space where your spirit is constantly fed negativity, then those will be the building blocks of your psyche. Then you're going to be
Yes.
negative about yourself, you're going to be negative about anything that you do. But then if you are in a space where you are fed positivity, then it springs more positivity from within you. Then it's a challenge back to us again to say, how are we sprinkling positivity in and around us with the people that are around us? Are we the
Yes.
people that are, sprinkling that bit of positivity, bit of encouragement, so that people can rise up and be better versions of themselves?
Of
So
themselves.
it's,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, that is so true, because you get to see when she also gets to meet the family Galusanda, which is the friendship, how it looks so beautiful to her, because she's never had friends. She's never had friends. She's always lived as a loner. And suddenly she's now brought into this space, and then she gets to discover the beauty of life.
it's absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's something also about that, because, and you will enjoy that when you go back to Rabbit Soul, because sometimes family is the toxic one. Like when you look
Yes.
in case um of Ndonyaman, and when you go
Yes.
back to the characters that are in Rabbit Souls, they were all coming from this toxic family. And
Emily.
toxicity, sometimes we don't meet it outside. We come from it. And then how we stem out is that this group of people built their own family. That was not by but was through friendship, through trust. And then you can find that with people. Because
You
sometimes we tend
can.
to be like, I don't have family, I don't have blood family, but there are good people. There are good people that can make great family. It's just
Yes.
it takes
Yes.
an effort and it has to be built on all sides.
Yes.
And that's
That
what
is
this
so true.
character.
That is so true to say it's instead of focusing, if you find yourself in a toxic family environment, instead of dwelling and focusing on that, just open up your eyes to see what is around you. Because around you, you will find family. Then you can make family for yourself and have these beautiful bonds of family that cannot be broken, even though it is not blood. That is something that we should also take away from this. And then your creativity. I'm looking at your time. I know that you've got another commitment. Your creativity when you now, where did you get all this African continent? What? I'm like, I guess.
I told you I read fantasy. I told you I read fantasy, and fantasy is part of world building. So I wanted to challenge myself into building this world that is inhabited by these people. And the
Yeah.
story gets bigger because it starts in Ravaged Souls, and then it's
Okay.
Strum My Pain, and then it's going to be Chains That Bind. I'm actually waiting for copies of the new book, Chains That
Okay.
Bind, where we wrap up this world that I've created of seven kingdoms. Because I had to explain these two princes, and I didn't want to go into the Xhosa prince or the Zulus because then I'm gonna have controversies like oh this one and another. So I didn't want to get into the controversy of our own
Own local, yes.
kingdoms and things like that because there's a lot going on. So I said I'm going to create a fictional kingdom where there will be these two princes that nobody knows about, but they do exist in our world and are part of this bigger picture. And I was like, that's it.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Because Shem, to get this, you must go get the books, guys. And as you go and get the books, also remember to subscribe to my channel. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And then you are also touching on something so critical and yet so sensitive. The Lusanda rape. That was, I'm like, this girl has a very wild imagination. So she goes and she throws this into this whole twist, this, as you're reading, and then boom, and how many men have suffered that and they can't speak up. They can't speak up about it. Yes.
They don't speak about it. There's no spaces for them to speak about it. Society shames them for speaking about it. So it's like there isn't a safe environment where men can also air out their heads and their pain at the hands of women, at the hands of people they trusted. And
Yes.
unfortunately in our society, I'll say women we suffer more abuse, we suffer more because of patriarchy and things like that. But it doesn't negate or cancel out that a lot of men do go through abuse
True.
at the hands of women, and
Yes.
mostly it will be people closer to them,
To
people
the,
closer to them as well. So abuse is very part of the fabric that is soon in our society from all ends. And certain circumstances we don't want to look at and we don't want to confront, but situations like Ezabo Lusanda are happening and they do happen in our society. And how are men going to talk about it? And you saw how he struggled as well,
he
even though he
struggled.
had close friendships. But I mean, for him to now open up and say this happened to and under normal circumstances, men would laugh at him. Like, what do you mean a
What do you,
woman did that to
yes.
you? You are a man, you are Lusanda, you are this, you
You
are
are,
that, you are
yeah,
that.
yeah,
He couldn't
because
just
firstly you
say
think about
this.
that. You think about that this is Lusanda, this character who can, very resourceful, and then suddenly he is brought to his knees by this situation. But I think I love how you also brought to say for him to end up opening up, it took the brotherhood. It took the friendship to say, we can see that you are not okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And a lot of men, I think, need that. They need a tribe of friendship to say, "You're not okay.
You're not
Talk
yourself.
to us. What is
See.
going on? What is
Yes.
going on?" So
Yeah.
those spaces must be created.
They
They must
must
be
be
created.
created.
we, for us, I think I would say we're fortunate because we create those spaces. We've been creating those spaces for ourselves, and we hardly keep things in. We talk about it. We talk about it. So we need it more as well for men.
For
And as a mother
men.
of a boy, you want also these things to be consciousized in our society because we are also raising boys. We are raising sons, and we want them to have spaces where they will be vulnerable and be able to talk about things and be able to receive support and things like that whenever they need it.
Yeah. Pumza, I'm worried about your time. I'm looking at the time. I'm like, I don't
Yes.
want to keep you longer than
I'm also looking, yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to keep you longer than that I've kept you because you have a commitment that
No.
you need to get to.
Yes.
It's been awesome. It's been we can go on. There's just so much in this
We
book.
can.
There's just so much
And
that
we
is
will
in this
spoil it
book,
for people because they
but
must now go by.
they must go by. And we are gonna do. You're gonna come back another day for another one. We're gonna do
Yes.
that.
Yes.
So yeah, but thank you so much.
All right.
What
It's
are
my
your final
pleasure.
shots? What are your final shots on the book in summary as we go towards wrapping up?
No, man, I want everybody in South Africa to read this book. I think it's an important story. It's part of us. It's who we are. Certain things are who we are as people, and it's a relatable story that
It is.
can be relatable to anyone. And I want it also to be turned into a series. So let's come out in numbers and and
That
have our
it
own.
should. It should.
So the more people read, the more these things happen. This is actually Rabbit Souls. So this is the
Okay.
one before From My
This
Pain.
one. Uh huh.
And yeah, and then this is a standalone for now. This is something about you. It
Okay.
will it will come because it's gonna be a part of a series. I'm still busy with it. I'm still writing, but I'm looking forward this week. You will see if you follow me on my social medias. On Facebook is Pumza Shabangu. I'm on Instagram Pumza Shabangu. I'm on Twitter Pumza Shabangu. On TikTok Pumza Shabangu. So you will see the shots of the new book coming because I'll be marketing Change That Bind, which is actually the story about Dumisani, Lusanda's brother,
Okay.
the one he was
That
having
one. That
conflict with. Okay, that Dumisani,
that to be
and he's
sunny.
getting his own story, and everybody's like, "Man, he's such a bad guy." I'm like, "No, if you read
He's
the
not so
book, he's
bad.
not exactly. He has his issues, and you realize how traumatized they are, both of them. You
Both
know,
of them.
money didn't protect them.
Yeah.
Money didn't protect these boys. And you realize when you reach some point that as much as Ndon had had trauma and she had no money, Lusanda had money, but
It's
he had
so much. Yes.
extra
Yes.
trauma. So we get to hear Dumisani um and his story, and it's epic. And I will go as far and say because I love Lusanda, but I think I'm in love with Dumisani. I think it's better than Strum, I think.
Really? I'm definitely looking
But then,
forward to
which is
it.
it's possible because how I work, I want to outdo my previous
Your
work. That's
previous,
how
yes. You are
I
in
benchmark.
competition with yourself. You're in competition with
Oh
yourself
yeah,
to do better than the
oh,
previous day, you know.
oh yeah,
Pumza,
so
thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming through. Thank you for the conversation. We are going to do another one. Let me read, and we'll just do another one because you're touching on very real life issues. Viewers at home, you've heard it. Make sure that you go and buy Strum Your Pen. But like we said, start with Ravaged Soul, then get to Strum Your Pain so that you can be able to follow. She's our very own. I love her. I could relate to her style of writing. It touches on real issues. Ndoni Yamanzi, I'm sure you can find yourself somewhere in Ndoni Yamanzi. If you don't find yourself, you'll know somebody who is Ndoni. And let's just spread love around us. Let us just be a little bit more caring. Let us just be a little bit more loving. Let us, in the circle of friends that we have, let us be there for each other. Let us support each other because we need each other. Everyone needs somebody to strum their pain. Differently so. Differently so. And more than anything, your love is beautiful. Love is beautiful. So, you get to read about the beautiful love story of Ndoni Yamanzi and Lusanda. And so, thank you, Pumza, for coming through. Thank you, viewers at home. I trust that you've enjoyed the conversation. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you have not yet subscribed. Until next time, take care.